What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show. Today, the Blazers had basically the same exact game as they had a couple of days ago against the Cavs as they lose 107-95 to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Blazers in this one cut the game to 1 in the third quarter, fought back from a double-digit lead once again. The Lakers called timeout and proceeded to absolutely destroy the Blazers the rest of the game. This is a script we've seen many games so far this year, and it played out again tonight. You had sloppy play, Shaedon Sharpe with a career high in turnovers. He's being thrust into some point guard minutes. You didn't see Jamaree Bouyea today. You had LeBron absolutely torching the Blazers. You had Anthony Davis blocking everything the Blazers tried to shoot tonight. And the Lakers win by 12. Felt like a little bit more. Felt like they were in control of this entire game, and the Blazers have lost 6 in a row. 6 losses for this once proud franchise. Eric, how's it going, bro?
Oh, not too bad. They're like playing just well enough to keep you like
from keeping the TV, turning off the TV.
Right, not necessarily turning it off, but like from getting you to like completely give up on them and like think the game is a tank game and they're not trying or whatever, but like they're also like, I don't know, it's just not playing well either. So it's like, but it's like, oh, we had a chance to win. We cut the lead to 1 early in the fourth quarter or third quarter or something, right? Yeah. So we had a chance to beat them, but
yeah.
I feel like Chauncey's coaching to tank again. Or he just can't coach. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is bad. The offense is bad. Like, Lakers shoot 49% from the field, 40% from 3. We forced them to turn it over 18 times, so that's really the only positive there. On the Blazers' end, this is the worst offense in the league. Statistically, they are the worst offense in the league. Shooting-wise, they are the worst offense in the league. They go 10 for 37, 27%, and I see a lot of comments around this team like, oh, at least they're playing hard. At least they're hustling. The problem is, right now, you have a lot of guys that aren't good enough offensively to stick in the league if they aren't high-level hustle guys. Like, there's a reason why there's a lot of hustle out there. A part of it is because a lot of these dudes, the only reason they're in the league is because they do the little stuff, do the scrappy stuff. You know what I mean? And it's not to discount that because that stuff's important, but you know, you look at the way this team's shooting the ball this year, it's like these guys aren't in the league because they can shoot. Guys aren't in the league because of anything they can do offensively outside of DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant and Shaedon Sharpe. Like everybody else on the roster, if it wasn't for things other than offense, might not even be in the league. You know, you look at Jabari, you look at Tamani, who I love Tamani, but offensively he's been a bit rough. And today, 3 for 8, 1 for 6 from 3, though. Like, he just can't buy a 3-point bucket. Jabari Walker is starting to show flashes of offense, but wasn't good on that end tonight. 2 for 6 in 18 minutes. Had a couple nice drives, though, so credit to him. Thybulle, I mean, he's been shooting the ball in a Blazer uniform, but 24 minutes, 5 points. Like, he only shoots 3 shots. Uprise 0 for 5. Chris Murray's 0 for 2, including a wide-open corner 3 that he almost airballed short. Justin Minaya played in 5 minutes, this box score says, but I don't think that's correct. So I don't know what ESPN is on. They've been glitching out with Justin Minaya all season long where they say he's into the game, but he's actually not.
He played 5 minutes.
Well, I didn't notice him. I did not notice him. So offensively, this team is rough. 27% from the field, 40% from 3. Eric, 18 turnovers. I mean, it's just brutal basketball, and it's frustrating because normally when a team comes back from a double-digit deficit, it's exciting, right? Like, oh, they clawed back into this game. Let's go. Maybe we can actually win this thing. Every time this team comes back from a double-digit deficit, it's like, okay, well, this is fun. It won't last. Oh, great. They called a timeout. They're about to go on a huge run after that. And I had a tweet during this game. When the Blazers cut the lead to 1, it was 68-67. I had a tweet, and I basically said that every time the Blazers cut a double-digit lead to 1 or 2 possessions, the other team calls a timeout, and then they go on a massive run after that. And that's literally exactly what happens. The Blazers cut it to 1 in the third quarter with about 7. Let me get the exact timestamp. They cut it to 1 with 7:45 remaining in the third quarter. The Lakers call a full timeout. Blazers had 67 points. Okay? In the next, let's see, approximately 10 minutes of game time, the Blazers have 8 points. One of those second half lulls that we always talk about. They had 75 points with 10 minutes left. Sorry for that. They had 75 points left, or 75 points with 10:21 left in the fourth quarter. That timeout was called with 7:45 in the third quarter. So from 7:45 in the third to 10:21 in the fourth, the Blazers score 8 points. They went from being down 1 to being down 14. And I understand there's a lack of talent. The Blazers broadcast made it a point to talk about how...
Point of emphasis.
A point of emphasis. This team just doesn't have enough talent. And while you can sit there and say absolutely, like, nobody's going to disagree with that when you're going up against LeBron James and oh my goodness, I already muted this ad. When you're going against LeBron and AD and your best player is DeAndre Ayton or Jeremy Grant or Shaedon Sharpe, like, obviously they have a talent advantage, but it's just frustrating because the play out of timeouts, especially opponent timeouts, is brutal. Like, how many times have we scored the first offensive possession after a timeout? It feels like never. It feels like every offensive possession after a timeout is just a mess. And it seems like we need a little bit of time after timeouts to warm up offensively. And it's extremely frustrating. When the Blazers called that timeout at the end of the third too, Eric, you know how they called a timeout with 47 seconds remaining?
Yep.
To me, it was like, oh, well, that means they're not going to score the rest of the quarter. And they didn't score the rest of the quarter. Like, for whatever freaking reason, this team's offense is even worse out of timeouts. It's horrific out of timeouts. And it's baffling to me, to the point where if a timeout gets called, I'm not expecting this team to score for at least 3 to 5 possessions. Like, I'm just expecting the offense to look disjointed. They don't set stuff up out of timeouts. The possessions after timeouts are some of the worst offensive possessions of the game, and that's saying something for an offense that's the worst offense in the entire league. And, I'll kind of feed it to you here because you brought up Chauncey in your intro monologue. I mean, you can sit here and give him the excuse of a lack of talent, man, but the lack of structure offensively, the lack of structure in general is just very frustrating. So you brought him up, like, kind of what's your main complaints for Chauncey this game?
Well, it's he's costing us all free nuggets because we can't score 100 points, right? So that's like something that's been pretty much a given in the NBA the last few years. Is like every team scores 100 points. So whatever giveaway that is pretty much an easy thing to attain. But really, I have a problem with the mindset that there's nothing you can do, or we have these injuries, so we're doing the best we can, and players are playing hard and all that kind of stuff. Because I'm not seeing them try anything different, right? And that's the most frustrating part to me, is they put their players in a position where, like, okay, like after the game tonight, Chauncey's saying, well, Shaedon's not a point guard. So of course he's going to be, he's going to have a lot of turnovers or whatever. It's like, well, why aren't you running him? Like, why aren't you running plays for him then? Or like, why aren't you doing some sort of sets that don't require your guards to break down an offense if they're not capable of doing that right now? And then I know you mainly focused on offense, but my point applies to both ends, and it's how many games am I going to sit here and frickin' talk about the other team's best player going the frick off on us, and we do nothing different defensively the entire frickin' game to do anything about it? LeBron scores, 34, 35 points today? Donovan Mitchell last game goes off. We don't do anything throughout the game to make him uncomfortable, to take the ball out of his hands, or do anything to trap him, or whatever. Bane 2 games in a row, we win one of them, but we leave him wide open off of pick and rolls, running drop coverage on us. And like this, I just watch the game and I get so frustrated because yes, we're tanking and we're not good and we don't have as much talent as these teams or whatever. But why the heck is this coaching staff not then trying and throwing every little thing and wrinkle they can at opposing teams to try and dirty up the game and just make some sort of thing happen instead of just being like, well, LeBron's good. Yeah, no crap, Chauncey. No crap, dude. Like, why didn't you do anything to take the ball out of his hands and not give him like 5 feet of space so he can just stand there and think about for like 10 seconds what kind of fancy pass he's about to do because there's no one around him to block the pass or make it hard on him. So he just waits till a guy goes open down the baseline and then decide, should I throw this underhand or behind my back, or should I close my eyes before I do it, or what? Like, we gave him enough time to like literally do that the entire freaking game, and we don't do anything to like do it differently. And it's the same on offense. Like, we just run the same boring crap and it doesn't produce any results, yet we keep like making excuses for this guy like he's, oh, well, look at all this progress and this team's playing so hard and stuff. Like you said, they have to play hard because they don't have anything else. They don't have coaching. They don't have the talent. Of course they have to play hard. It's so frustrating to me. And like, I don't want to get worked up watching these games, but I just watch how we defend LeBron for this entire game, and it doesn't change one time. And I don't understand how we do not mix up coverages or do anything differently.
Yeah, I think we're mixing it up a little bit more than it seems. I feel like every time we have trapped a pick and roll this year, it's a layup because they hit the big man and he rolls right to the rim and gets a layup because we give up that pass every time we try and trap. And then right now I feel like we can't hedge because people can't get through screens. Like, I was really paying attention to screen navigation in the first half, bro. Oh my goodness. Literally everybody on this team right now dies on screens. Even somebody like Tamani, who's a good defender for a rookie and plays his ass off, Tamani is really bad getting through screens. So it's like you can't sit there and hedge the big because the ball handler is just going to take it wide, and then if the big tries to recover, the ball handler just has nobody around him in like 6-7 feet of space because the guy can't chase him through a screen because we can't get through screens. So I don't know. Like, I feel like Chauncey at times has done something different. There was a time last game that stood out where, where I was watching, I was sitting basically sideline 300 level, and they trapped a play on my side of the court along the sideline, and they just hit the roller. And Tamati rotated pretty quickly, but it was either Jared Allen or Evan Mobley, I forget, and they just finished right over him. So I think some of it is, maybe something where you can blame Chauncey, like he doesn't have these guys executing certain defensive schemes well enough. Like, we got to get better at getting through screens. We got to get better of not giving up the pocket pass when when we trap pick and rolls or play aggressive on pick and rolls. It's just there is definitely some execution mistakes. And I don't know, like there was a play we tried to double LeBron, and when he was sitting baseline, and he just turned around and threw an alley-oop to AD.
Well, yeah, that was at the beginning of the game in the first quarter, and I don't think that was scheme. I think that was an impromptu double team because he was posted up like Skyler or someone like that, and we had to send a double. But, of course, it comes from the person guarding AD right under the basket is the one that doubles, so he's wide open. That's rough. But I'm only. Huh?
Go ahead.
You can say something.
Well, I was gonna say I also think LeBron did a lot of his damage in transition where there wasn't really much you could do, which starts on the other end of the floor, turning the ball over a lot of times.
We didn't switch a lot of picks tonight, so like yeah, you can make the argument that that's how you should play the Lakers because they're not a great shooting team either. But when LeBron's going off, or like I don't know, I felt like, and Lamar even brought this up during the broadcast. He's like, I think there's some confusion on what D is supposed to do on these pick and rolls and stuff coverages, because he was basically giving whoever the ball handler was space, and they were coming off that screen. The screen, the guy guarding ball was getting picked off, like you said, on every screen, and then there would just be a few seconds of that person being wide open in space, and it's just, I don't know, it's just frustrating to watch it happen over and over again. And us, I mean, yeah, you can throw out the Terry Stotts, oh, we doubled him one time type, like, defense, I guess, but like, we're not. Our coverages in the fourth quarter were basically the same coverages in the first quarter, outside of a couple outliers.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen us double this year. It looks awful. I've seen us basically everything we've run this year that's different looks awful. Like, nothing. I've seen doubles. I've seen traps. They've looked bad. Like, I think it's due to a lack of execution, but I'm kind of going through and rewatching some of LeBron's plays. We didn't double him much. Yes, we could have doubled him more. I just feel like when it's LeBron, like, he's going to pick you apart if you double. Especially when he has, like, Christian Wood, Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell hit 3 threes to start this game. I just feel like it's a situation where I don't know, like, there wasn't really an answer tonight for LeBron. Like, if he has it going hitting threes, it's what same old adage with LeBron. If he has it going hitting threes, what are you supposed to do?
I guess I'm sick of that. What are we supposed to do? Answer. Like, I want them to try everything and not just like one time randomly. I want them to, like, at least try to make it so he can't pass as easy as it seemed like he could in this game, or shoot open threes or whatever. Like, I don't know. I want them to at least try and take someone out of a game.
Yeah, I just think it's easier said than done. At the end of the day, with a young team.
But how did we do it last year against Luka? Like, was it just different personnel?
Last year? I mean, we had more veterans. I think it's tougher to do with a young team. I've seen him try in the past couple of games more so than he did at the start of the season.
Tamani's a better defender than anyone we had last year, though, right?
Yeah, but he can't get through screens. It's the same problem with Jeremy.
We didn't have anyone who got through screens last year.
I know, but I think we switched a little bit more than you're giving them credit for today, but it wasn't design switch. It was, because that's what I was trying to get a feel for, especially when we switched. It was like, why are we switching? Is this what we're really trying to do, or is this due to guys not getting through screens? Screen navigation is just horrible. Like, Matisse always goes for a steal on a lot of screens where he just tries to reach around the guy and tip the ball, and if he doesn't get the steal, he's out of the play. Tamati doesn't get through screens. Jeremy doesn't get through screens. Jabari's kind of a bigger guy, so I don't even fault like a guy like Tamani and Jabari that are bigger guys, but Sharpe doesn't get through screens. Like, Skylar Mays doesn't get through screens. So I felt like there was times where we got switched in that specific oop to Anthony Davis you were talking about. We had Skylar Mays switched on to LeBron. I also feel like that's part of the reason we had a rebounding struggle in this game, is because DeAndre Ayton at times was getting switched out, wasn't around the rim. Now, when he was around the rim, he rebounded awful. He gave up too many offensive boards. But it's just, everything seemed disconjointed where we couldn't run. Like, I had no confidence in this defense being able to execute something specifically against this Laker team. Like, it felt like they weren't able to execute one thing all that well tonight. And they were able to hold them to 107 out of effort, but I don't know if they can consistently execute anything defensively at a high level.
Yeah, for the record, I didn't say they didn't switch, and I said that it didn't seem like it was their scheme to switch. I think most of the switches were LeBron's.
Yeah, you said they didn't switch much, I thought, so.
I meant, like, scheme-wise, wasn't like auto switch on screen. Yeah. So it's different if LeBron or D'Angelo Russell's coming off a screen, his guy gets screened, and the guy has to switch because he's coming at him. That's different. Like LeBron went to post up Skyler or whatever, then you can't just like leave that situation and hope your other guy recovers if you're Skyler. So yeah, that of course happens throughout the game, no matter what your scheme is. I just feel like if you are gonna switch, having that person step up right into the screen or behind the screen, or should say. So like if someone's setting the screen and you're guarding the guy screening, like you come up right to the point where the screen is. So when the ball handler comes around the screen, you're sitting right there to pressure him, so he can't pass as easily. But for us, we give them space. We've done this all season, so they come off the screen, they have space, and they can either step towards them and start driving and getting downhill, or they can go right over the top like LeBron did several times to an open defender because we're out of position on the backside.
Yeah. You remember when, like, Tamani kind of threw the ball at LeBron?
Mm-hmm.
And then LeBron, next play, like, comes down and gets a 3, and it's just an open 3.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of one of those examples of just Jeremy not being able to get through a screen. Like, that particular play, LeBron, like, went down and just kind of, like, weaved back to the top around a screen, and it wasn't even, like, that legitimate of a screen, but Jeremy just absolutely, completely died on it. Mm-hmm. And Ayton was guarding the screener, and you can say, okay, well, Ayton needs to try and deny that pass. Ayton, for whatever reason, especially this game, felt reluctant to guard the perimeter. Felt reluctant to step out on the perimeter. Yeah. And that's supposed to be one of his strengths. He's supposed to be a guy that can step out and guard the perimeter and slide his feet and move, and he just felt reluctant. Like, LeBron's first 3 of the game was a play where Ayton was out on LeBron, and they threw the ball into the post, Anthony Davis against Kamara, and Ayton, even though he's on the same side of the floor, was the one to double down. Like, he basically doubles down to Anthony Davis, so he kicks it back to LeBron, and he has an open 3. And it's just playing off your guy too far, one pass away, and it was Ayton, and it's kind of the whole feeling I had with him all game was like, he does not want to guard on the perimeter. And then, like,
also doesn't want to get back on transition defense.
Yeah, and then, like, a couple other LeBron threes was just like, one of them was just like a loose ball chaotic play. And here's the thing, like, this game felt chaotic. Like, how many stretches were there where the ball was just being fumbled and then going the other way and then fumbled and just like everything was chaotic? LeBron, I feel like, thrives in those situations, especially against a young team, like, or against a team that doesn't have the greatest talent, where if the game gets a little chaotic and like up and down, the ball's bouncing everywhere, I feel like LeBron plays well in those situations. So, like, there was a play, he got a 3 off that. There was another play in transition. Sharpe had a good contest on him. It was a deep-ass 3, and he hit it, but at that point, we let him get going. So I think, like, jump shooting-wise, LeBron in this game hits 5 threes. I don't really know on any of those plays if there's anything specifically that was, like, Chauncey's responsibility.
Yeah.
Nothing
you can do.
I mean, if you want to find a play, and I just went through them all, like I just explained them all.
Yeah. No, so, I'm just saying it's always nothing you can do. Not from you. It's just like
I know
that's like the prevailing.
Yes, and sometimes it's BS. Like, yes, sometimes it's BS. Sometimes it can apply. Like, it's not a situation for me where it's like that's always going to be the case or never going to be the case. Like, this game was chaotic, and I felt like our offense fed into them playing in transition.
Well, yeah,
I thought we did a worse. Yeah, and I thought we did a worse job defending Anthony Davis / Christian Wood when he was in the game. Now, Christian Wood didn't have the greatest game, but he had some open shots. Like, we gave up some open threes. This is not a good 3-point shooting team, but we gave up some open-ass threes. They shoot 40% from 3. They're 12 for 30. The only way you're probably giving up a 40% shooting night against the Lakers are, A, if LeBron goes off, but B, if you just give up some wide-open threes. Like, D'Angelo Russell had some open threes to start the game. He had 3 threes in the first quarter. And all of them were open. So,
yeah.
And all of them, I don't even think any of them hit the rim.
No.
So, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Why do screens destroy us, says Eric Olson. We don't have good enough technique getting through screens. It's just simply what it is. We go into the screener. You're supposed to attach to the hip, go up over the screen. We don't really do a good job of it. Some of it, I think... Do you feel like this team does a good job communicating screens? Because sometimes to me it feels like they are not communicating with the way some of these guys just run into the screen.
No, I don't think so at all. But to me, like, I guess Tamani doesn't really prove this to be true. But for me, both as a screener or if you're defending a guy who gets a lot of screens. So like if I'm defending or if I'm trying to set a screen and the guy I'm trying to screen is always like in the grill right on top of the guy he's guarding, it's a lot harder to set a screen because he just like slides right next to him and behind him, so it's hard to like pick him off without picking off like your own guy, if that makes sense. And I feel like we literally just back off into the screen like multiple times every game. Like we're just allowing the screen to happen, and so we like instead of fighting through and getting skinny like you mentioned and trying to get through it fast, it's like we're accepting the screen, expecting, or that's the game plan to give that ball handler space. And like I said, against certain players or certain teams like the Lakers, sure, maybe you want to start the game off doing that because they're typically not a great three-point shooting team. But I don't know. It happens way too much against good three-point shooting teams too for me to think it's not by design. Like it has to be by design if that's how it is, because if not, like why wouldn't Chauncey be hammering that home as something that he has talked about every single year? His philosophy is scrapping and being tough and physical and all that stuff. Dying on picks is like the least thing you can do to apply being a physical, tough, scrappy team. To me, that's one of the first things you notice about a tough, scrappy team is their screen navigation and just like never being able to get a clean screen on someone. And if you do, it might be a moving screen a lot more often than not. You probably get turnovers that way because you're fighting through so many. But like, I don't know. To me, this happened with Stotts too. So and now it's a completely different team. So you can blame like Dame and CJ and all those guys for doing it for years, but they're not on the team anymore, and it's still happening. So like when I watch someone who's playing up on a defender, they know the screen's coming and they just go down and go right into it and are expecting the other guy to step up. I don't understand how that's not something the coaches either aren't just screaming at their players about, or they're actually telling them that that's how they want to defend it, and which it doesn't make any sense to me. But neither of those things are happening, so I don't understand, because like screen navigation isn't like an athleticism thing, or like some of the best screen navigators are like have horrible athleticism, and so I don't understand how they can just go down into the screen every time.
Yeah, so Russell hit 4 threes in this game. His second and fourth three, Tamani was on him and basically did just that on a screen. Now, both times Ayton was guarding the screener, and both plays were something where I can't tell, even after rewatching it, I can't tell if it's Tamani just dying on the screen or Ayton not communicating the screen. The second three Russell hit, I think, was more likely to be Ayton not communicating the screen the way Tamani went into it. But then the fourth one was the play where, like where Chauncey wanted that moving screen called on Anthony Davis because he kind of rolled through Tamani. Tamani went right into that screen, like stopped for almost a second, and then tried going under.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, yes, it probably should have been called a moving screen because, like, AD ran with him. But if you're too money, you got to try and run through the screener. You know, like, if the screener's going to roll with you, you got to try and run back to the ball, and you got to create some sort of contact for it to be a moving screen. If you run around him and don't touch him, he's allowed to run and not touch anyone. So you got to try and, if you're going under, you still got to fight in a way if that big man rolls down. But that play was like, AD was so far away because the screen was like 30 feet away from the rim and Ayton's halfway down into the paint where I don't know if Tamani heard him. And that's just where you talk about how this team has a lot of quiet guys before the season. Like Chauncey was talking about that and how they need to communicate. And the communication just might not be there at all. I don't know. You know, it's hard without sitting courtside, but it seems like there are certain plays where guys are dying on screens where it's a communication issue. Also, I think this coaching staff, and you've talked about before where, like, you wanted Chauncey to get a new coaching staff under him going into the season. Like, you just want him to rework it. Mm-hmm. And this is the type of stuff that, like, assistant coaches should be harping on. Assistant coaches should be teaching technique, how to fight their screens, especially to a young team. And it just seems like the technique is not there. Like, there is no consistency in terms of how on-ball defenders set themselves up when a screen is coming to fight through a screen. It's just like, oh, screen's here, gotta try and go through them. Like, there's no, like, mindset, right? Some guys will teach guys on the ball to try and shade towards the screen and make them reject the screen and then compete with them the other way. The other way of teaching it for the most part is to try and slip directly under. And then another consistency you can see from some other teams is to go up and attach to the outside hip and try and run with them through the screen, right? So certain teams will do a little bit more of one thing than the other two, but most teams will defend threes with defend screens, on-ball screens, consistently in one of those three ways: slipping under, trying to make them reject, or attaching to the outside hip and trying to run through with them. We have no consistency regarding any of those three ways of trying to deal with an on-ball screen as the on-ball defender. And we haven't had consistency in years, and it's super frustrating. Like, that's the frustrating thing with this defense right now is people saying, I saw tweets today, like, it's weird how the Blazers offense sucks, but the defense is solid, or the defense is good. Going into this game, the Blazers were they were ranked 23rd in adjusted defensive rating, which is basically just defensive rating adjusted for the strength of the opposing offense. 23rd on defense. This defense is bad. Like, this defense is not good. The thing is, the offense is worse. The offense is worse. And we'll talk about the offense, but the defense is still bad. The defense should be better than this, even with some of the guys they're playing, it feels like. And it feels like it's not better because they, A, can't fight through screens. B, Chauncey, I think he's started to experiment a little bit with some other stuff, but it doesn't seem like he knows when to use it or how to teach the execution of it. And therefore, that's why every time they trap or hedge a pick and roll, it's just a pocket pass to the big and a layup. Or somebody rotates and it's a wide open kick out three. Like, we do not execute defensively much at all. We play hard for the most part. Like, I haven't really complained about effort hardly at all this year, right, compared to some other years. Playing hard can have an impact, and it has. Like, it's why we're not the worst defense in the league, but playing hard can only take you so far. And just fundamentally, execution-wise, we struggle. And you can sit here and say maybe that it's a young team, so that's why. But, like, Jeremy Grant is one of the worst getting through screens. And when you look at, like, there doesn't seem to be any consistent idea or consistent principles on how to deal with certain situations. And that's just where Chauncey has kind of lost me. And I say I'm out on Chauncey. We've seen the lack of consistent principles defensively for 3 years now. And even if you have a bad defensive roster, if you teach guys one way of dealing with something, normally they will do that one way. They might not do it well, right? Like, they might try to attach to the outside hip and fight through a screen and then struggle getting through it and get beat that way. But you'll be able to notice, oh, he's consistently trying to set up for the screen this way. That's the problem, is like, this team gets there's the pass of bad defensive roster. Now there's the pass of, oh, it's an injured team. But there's a lack clearly a lack of consistent principles, and it's either due to them not being taught or an inability to teach. One of the two. Either way, it's bad on the coaching staff. But that's where more of my problem lies right now, is there doesn't seem to be a consistent set of fundamentals or principles defensively.
Right. And so you went back and looked, right? Ayton never made it past like the free throw line extended, right, on any of those screens.
The second three, Ayton was actually guarding AD very closely. Yeah. He was actually guarding AD very closely, but seemed to like not realize he was setting a screen.
Right. Okay. But all the other ones, it was like he was back, right?
Yeah. So the third three that Russell hit, we were in a zone with Kamara and Sharpe at the top. Mm-hmm. And basically they just had made those top two guys guard three and swung it to Russell, who was open because of it. Russell's first three was just like that, that first three of the game for the Lakers where Russell shot in the corner where like there was a loose ball that rolled right out to him.
Yeah.
Like just unlucky, you know what I mean? So, but the fourth one for sure, like, yeah, it was the one where the screen was literally set at the R in the Rip City logo and Ayton was below the free throw line. Or like right at the free throw line.
Yeah, so my thing is, it's frustrating to watch that. If I'm watching it and they're bad at screen navigation, but I see the big hedge for a second, and the guy then recovers, but the recovery is bad, and they score off that. That's not me. I wouldn't get mad at that. I would be like, okay, at least they try to hedge that. So the plays where that happens don't frustrate me at all. But it does frustrate me in the fourth quarter when we're still running like a soft pick and roll coverage against a team that's killed us, or that it's been have had efficiency against that kind of defense the entire game, and we're still trying to do that same thing. And so, like I said, like there's plays where something happens or someone like Thybulle just, spontaneously chases a steal or something. So it's I don't think those are by design necessarily by the coaching staff. I think that's just like players trying to make a play or whatever. But for me, it's like if you have bad screen navigation, you have bad screen navigation, you have to pretty much show or hedge every screen. Unless you don't want to, or you want to bait the player into shooting, which I guess some players like, Russell Westbrook or something might be the best.
What was that? Was that a reenactment of the Blazers play tonight?
No, I'm here alone with my 7-year-old, and she just flushed the toilet, so I didn't want that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I could tell. Go ahead.
But anyways, yeah, I think you have to at least soft hedge the picks and have Ayton be up closer to the ball or whoever's guarding him, if you're not switching at least. And so if you're doing that, and I see you're doing that, you're at least trying to give the defender at the point of attack an extra second to get through the screen, and the rotations are bad. But then, like, over the course of the season, so now we're like, 12 games into the season? By this point, you should be starting to see now, okay, it's still not great, but the rotations are getting a little faster on the backside, and now they're stopping an occasional play that they weren't stopping 10 games ago or whatever. And so I don't see that. It's just like random stuff. Like it doesn't seem like they have an identity, and it's just weird because like Chauncey seems like his whole philosophies are based on having this identity that they've never had under him. And it's just like I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty appropriate synopsis of his entire coaching tenure here as a Blazer, is say all the right things, but doesn't show that up on the court. and doesn't really try to do anything to implement his philosophies. So, but yeah, like if you're gonna switch picks too, because like I guess that's fine. I can get mad that like Skylar's trying to guard LeBron or whatever, but at least it's like, I don't know, at least that's a scheme thing that you're trying to attempt. I don't know. I just get so frustrated when players come off screens that are capable of hitting shots or have proven that night that they need to be accounted for, and we're just letting them come freely off those picks.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a Tory breakdown because there is a play that I am looking at that is just baffling, like, and kind of shows a bit of the lack of ability to navigate screens. Because I think part of the reason why when we play soft, when we play drop, part of the reason why it looks so bad is because of how horrible we are at getting through screens. Because, like, if you're going to do that, you have to have the guy fight over the screen every time, and you have to have the guy, like, try and stay attached. That's the only way that scheme works. And when you're awful getting through screens, it's the worst scheme you can run, in a way. But just, like, the inability to execute is just so baffling. The inability to get through a screen. So, guess who I have struggling to get through a screen? Jeremy Grant. Because, my goodness, this dude just is so rough getting through screens. Is this the one
right at the top of the screen? Or right on top of the key?
The one that ended up in a Rui wide open corner 3?
I don't know. I almost did. I didn't do a breakdown tonight, but I almost... There was another one where Jeremy, like, jumped into a screen right at the top of the key. Like, he just...
Bro, yeah.
Yeah.
It is super small. Let me make it bigger.
I wanted to take a picture of him, like, in the air, falling backwards on a screen.
Yeah, so the quality's not going to be super great, but you guys can still see. You guys can still see what's up. Look at the way Jeremy Grant gets through the screen. Look at his technique. Like, we're running drop here. If Jeremy stays attached to LeBron, it's executable. But Jeremy does such a horrible job. He has space to go over. He does such a, like, where is he going? He literally is above the screen when the screen's being set, has space, and he tries to fight under it, which is the long way to go.
He switches. I'm pretty sure he's thinking switch.
That could be part of the problem, is we're thinking switch, and, I mean, if you're running a soft pick-and-roll scheme, you can't switch. Like, LeBron has hit threes. Look how open he is. He's so open that Matisse runs at him from the corner, and they just kick to Rui, and he has a wide-open 3, and he hits it.
You also can't switch when the big's 5 feet away from the screen, so...
Yeah, but that's the problem, is we have this, like, I don't think Chauncey's instructing switch here. I just think it's... I mean, if that's what Jeremy's thinking, it's a weak-ass mindset, right? Like, we want to be the scrappy team. We're going to fight. We're going to play hard. We're going to fight. But if in that situation, you just automatically switch because you don't want to fight through a screen, that's soft. That's soft. Your scheme is not set up to switch that screen. Your scheme's just not set up because you got DeAndre Ayton. Look how far away he is. He is not ready to switch onto LeBron. He's playing drop. He is on his heels because as the big, you're supposed to protect the rim and force a mid-range shot here. You don't want to give up threes because Jeremy Grant's supposed to fight over and not give up the 3. DeAndre Ayton is responsible for not giving up the dunk. So you give up some mid-range shots, but that's the best shot to hypothetically give up if you're going to give up a shot. That's the whole point of run and drop. You're not supposed to leave him that open. If Matisse doesn't run at him, look how wide open he is. Look how wide open he is. And the problem is, even if Ayton realizes, oh, Grant's switching here, so he runs to LeBron, LeBron's going to be able to blow by him extremely easily. Because Ayton is running at him while LeBron is running downhill. So Ayton's momentum is just going to absolutely work against him, and LeBron's getting into the paint. So that's the problem, is if you are going to run a conservative scheme, if you are going to drop, the guy has to fight through the screen. He can't switch. He cannot switch. Even if it's two similar defenders, they cannot switch. If you're going to switch, you have to have both guys up near the level of the screen. The only way you can do it is if LeBron was like a non-3-point shooter. Sure, you could switch Ayton onto him because who cares if LeBron shoots? So like that's what the Blazers in the past have done with like Russell Westbrook. But LeBron was on fire. So this is on Jeremy. You can't do this. You literally cannot do this as part of the scheme. But that's the problem, is this stuff happens and Chauncey just stands there and claps and claps and just sits there clapping. So like, I am not giving Chauncey excuses, okay? I'm just more frustrated at the inability to execute anything. Like, it's not even about like running this, running that. They don't execute. They do not get through screens at all. They run soft drop, and then one guy's thinking switch, one guy's thinking not. Doesn't seem like they communicate someplace. Like, just the execution mistakes defensively have been horrible. And it doesn't matter who they have, it's execution mistakes. Like, they can't execute a single defense competently, even with a new roster.
And that's Jeremy, Ayton, and Thybulle on that side of the court. By the way, Manaya's in right there. There you go.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah. No wonder I didn't notice him. I was too busy freaking getting annoyed at our main guy's defense.
So yeah, you can blame the young guys, but that's, 3 veterans out there, all at least in their 5th year.
I'll say this. I don't blame Thybulle for running at LeBron and like making Rui be the 3-point shooter there,
I am not saying Thybulle's at fault here. I'm just saying you can't just chalk it up to, young players on the floor, because we have, probably our, outside of maybe Tamani, our 3 best defenders there. So,
but like, this is the type of screen navigation that we always see from Jeremy.
Right.
Like, it doesn't, like, I just think he's, it's either he is incapable of setting himself up to get through a screen and it's probably both, or he doesn't have the mentality of a scrapper. We see it on the boards a lot of times where he does not scrap for boards, and we see it getting through screens where he's not like fighting through them. He just doesn't fight through them. He would rather just like not fight through it, not deal with the contact, and just switch and like call it good and not have to do anything. And that's the problem I have. That's the problem I have with Jeremy. That's why he is only a scorer now, because he is not an impactful defender in a positive way, because you can't put him on a guy like LeBron, because if a screen runs at him, he's just going to die on it and like give up. And then on the boards, he doesn't provide an impact. As a passer, he doesn't provide an impact. That is the problem with Jeremy Grant. He's literally just a scorer, which he's a good player because he's a really good scorer for his position and provides you with some athleticism there. But that's all he is. He's not a well-rounded player. And I do think it's due in part to his mentality. And that's part of the problem I have, Eric, with paying this starting front court $60 million a year. Because Ayton, I don't think, has the toughest mentality. He's our center. Neither does Jeremy Grant. He's our power forward. You're paying $60 million a year for your power forward and center to have soft mentalities? I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I want like another Tamani type forward, like only maybe like a little more athletic than Tamani. Not that Tamani's like horrible athletically. I'm just saying like maybe a little bit better overall player than Tamani is. But I feel like just having another like Aminu Harkless type is better than having like great players. I don't know.
But you know what's funny? Those guys could get through screens. And those guys consistently set themselves up in a way when a screen was coming to get through screens. I think that was more David Vanderpool than Terry Stotts, because then after Vanderpool left, like, we had no idea how to get through an on-ball screen. It didn't matter who. Like, Rocco couldn't. Like, Rodney Hood wasn't good at it. Like, there was multiple guys that kind of struggled, maybe even took a step back in terms of their screen navigation. Like, since David Vanderpool left, we have not seemed to have taught guys how to get through screens properly or how to deal with screens properly. But that's the thing, where there's a difference between Aminu/Harkless and a Jeremy Grant. It's because Aminu and Harkless had that mindset to fight through screens. To that, they were more competitive regarding the little things, regarding defense, than Jeremy Grant is. And that's what it comes down to for me. Having those ultra competitors, having those dogs. Because DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, they aren't that. If you have some guys that do that, then those guys are fine on your roster. But that is a problem with this team the past couple of years, and it's still a problem with this team now, is you're looking for those true competitors. Now, Tamani, that's why everybody loves him, is because Tamani actually competes. We've gone so freaking long
with having so little competitiveness regarding the little areas of the game, regarding grabbing loose balls, regarding getting through screens, regarding playing freaking defense, that a 50-second pick comes in as a rookie and plays hard because he's fresh into the league and it's like, oh my goodness, this guy's amazing. Meanwhile, he's shooting like 15% from three. That's how desperate we are for it. The problem is he's shooting like 15-20% from three. Who knows what it is? Like, I'm just kind of guessing, but it's really bad. Like, Tamani isn't able to make shots, unfortunately, and he's not like a ball handler. So offensively, he's kind of a bit of a non-factor, but Chauncey's playing him major minutes because, oh, this dude actually freaking competes.
Well, the difference is when most of the players on the team get picked off on a screen, they take themselves out of the play completely and give up basically on the play. Whereas Tamani runs back into the middle. He's often tipping balls like from the middle. He usually catches up to the roll man and gets a hand in there, or at least like makes it a little more difficult or whatever. And that's what you have to do. Like if you get caught up, it's fine. You're gonna get screened every once in a while in a game. It's how you react to that, how quickly you recover, how smartly you recover, like knowing, like if LeBron's coming off this screen, that's what makes like elite defenders elite, is like they know, okay, there's two guys open when LeBron comes off the screen if I get screened. So what is he most likely to do, and like react to that quick enough to do it before he actually does it. And that's really impressive that Tumani is actually able to do some of that stuff or pick some of that stuff up. And it's mostly just because he doesn't give up on plays. He's just active and goes. And he had a nice, I forgot who it was. It might have been Anthony Davis, but Anthony Davis got a switch onto him and he went right into the post in the first half. And they tried to pass it into him, and Tamani slid around him and knocked the ball away.
Yeah.
And we got a steal. And
Jeremy's not doing that.
Stuff like that. Yeah, like most of the players on this team aren't doing that kind of stuff. And there are other smart players. Like Skylar could be as smart as he wants to, but he's not making that play on Anthony Davis in the post. You know, but there are players with physical limitations. But
Jabari
yeah,
plays his ass off like he's the other guy. He and Tamani. Yeah.
Yep. And this is why I've been screaming this for ever since we got Jeremy last year, to not put him on the ball handler up top. Like, let him be the help defender down low, because if Ayton comes up on those screens, Jeremy gets picked off. He's not quick enough to catch the roll man. Ayton switched on to LeBron. Then we have if AD gets behind Jeremy, which is most likely to happen, then we got like Skylar and Sharpe and our guards protecting the rim, right? Or Thybulle. And that's, I don't see why that's better than just letting our guards die on the picks and having at least our biggest and best help defenders in position to do so. And I will continue to be baffled as to why the coaching staff can't see that.
The problem is, though, like Jeremy, especially this year, hasn't been all that impactful when he's supposed to help.
Yeah,
like, we talked about a previous game, like where he had help responsibilities and wasn't fulfilling them. And that's his best role as a defender. But I feel like when you saw him last year, like, remember that first preseason game? He had like 3 blocks and he looked like he was just like flying around at the rim as a help defender and like making an impact. Since then, like, he just seems to have slowly declined in that area. And I don't know what it is, because he's still athletic. Like, I don't know if it's due to just, like, we don't have that defensive culture. He doesn't want to waste a bunch of energy all game long, having to make up for a bunch of perimeter breakdowns or what. But even in his best role, I don't know if he could serve it well. And the problem is, if you're going to be a secondary rim protector, secondary help defender, you got to be able to rebound better than Jeremy Grant can. Eric, what I was saying is, if you're a secondary rim protector too, you got to be able to rebound better than he can.
Well, that's also true, yeah.
So that's the problem. His best defensive role, I'm not even sure he's good at it. I'm not sure that Jeremy Grant is not a below-average NBA defender, at least as a Portland Trailblazer. Maybe he goes somewhere else and becomes good again, but for this Blazer team, Jeremy Grant is a below-average defender. I don't think there's a single role where you can sit there and say, okay, he's solid there. There will be something that he does wrong. That is just I don't know. Like, is that crazy to say that he's a below-average defender in any role as a Portland Trailblazer? Because that's kind of what it feels like to me.
I think he's pretty good in ISO situations. If he doesn't get screened, I think he's pretty tough to get around in those situations.
Yeah, but that's not a role. That's like a situation. I agree with that.
I'm just saying that's the only thing I can think of.
But, like, I don't know if there's any way to utilize him where he's not on average.
But we've been very clear about this. This is why we have to trade him this year, right?
Yeah, he is not...
he's been, like, I don't know. Maybe the very last play of the third quarter and into the fourth wasn't great, but, he was pretty good the rest of the game, offensively at least. But I don't know. I'd rather just get something for him.
Yeah, we need a scoring. That's the problem. But you can find scoring in other places. There's a comment from Joey that says, that happens every time in Portland. We supposedly get a lockdown good defender, and they suck here for some reason. Okay, Jeremy Grant was overrated as a defender coming to Portland. There's a large contingency, like there's a large group within this fan base that begs for certain players that they think can be super big-time defensive contributors. And Jeremy Grant was one of those. Look at him in the bubble. He's playing some lockdown defense. I went back and watched through every game he played in every defensive possession in the bubble, basically, from Jeremy Grant. I think I skipped a few playoff games, like, because he played a lot of games for the Denver Nuggets. But I watched like a ton of games from the bubble from Jeremy Grant when we got him. Because I wanted to see, okay, is he really this lockdown defender like people were saying? And the biggest takeaway I got is like, oh my goodness, he ain't no lockdown defender on the ball because he can't get through a freaking screen. Like in isolation, yeah, he's solid, but they just run a screen at him. You cannot have a lockdown defender who's like, oh, he's really good in isolation against stars. Because guess what? Other teams will figure out. They'll be like, okay, well, when we try and isolate, Donovan Mitchell against him, he's not scoring. But when we run a screen, just one screen at him, everything falls apart. They're just going to run screen after screen after screen on him. And they're going to get switch after switch after switch because he won't fight through them. Or if he does try to fight through them, because he tried to fight through them more in the bubble, he did not do a good job of getting through them, like technique-wise, footwork-wise. So even when he did try to fight through them, teams were having success when you were able to run a screen at whoever he was guarding. So that's the problem. Is like, yes, he's good in isolation if he ends up in those scenarios, but he's not he's not like a lockdown defender at all. Because all you can do is just run a screen at him. And that solves the problem for the offense. So Grant's reputation as a defender was always overblown. Always overblown. Like, what did he do when he was playing for OKC when Dame cooked him all series long? What was he doing defensively for them when the Blazers cooked them all series and won in 5 games? Like, nothing. So Jeremy Grant's reputation was always overblown, and like I know we brought in Robert Williams, and he didn't look too great defensively, like to start off. But here's the thing, man: that play I showed you guys, if that's Robert Williams as the center, what is Robert Williams supposed to do if they're running drop and the Jeremy Grant just dies on the screen and switches, and then LeBron's open for 3? Like, how is Robert Williams going to fix that? You know what I mean? The defense will still look just as bad. Like,
I don't know if they're running drop like that with Robert Williams.
Yeah. But they kind of were. But that's the problem. It's like Robert Williams in drop, if you fight over screens and funnel guys to him, he can be elite because he can step up, contest the mid-range shot, maybe even block the mid-range shot, and you're not going to beat him to the rim. So as a drop big, Robert Williams could be elite because fighting through the screen, over the screen, you take away the 3, right? The dropping big takes away the rim, but the best drop big defenders in the league can also take away some of that mid-range. And that's the thing with Robert Williams is like that's the type of defender he is. He's the type of defender where you could run some drop even against players that normally wouldn't work for because they'll use that space in the mid-range, manipulate the defense, find teammates or score out of it, or they'll pull up from the mid-range and hit. If you got guys that fight over screens and don't give up those threes, and then if you got a big that can make things tough in the mid-range as well as take away the rim and drop, then you can run it a decent amount. Like, that's what the Bucks have done in the past with Brook Lopez because he's one of those types of bigs. But the problem is it all starts at the top. You know, it all starts with the guy getting through the screen, taking away the three. Mm-hmm. And then everything's downhill from there. So you got to funnel guys to that guy. We don't funnel anything other than ourselves into the screen.
Yep. And, I mean, Brook this year has been getting kind of cooked in pick and roll because teams are starting to figure out how to attack him and not to go try to get to the rim on him because he's one of the best rim protectors. But
it also makes a difference not having Drew fight through those screens and make things tough on the perimeter. Yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. Like they're running drops still, or at times they're trying to, but he's just getting hunted every game, pick and roll after pick and roll, and it's usually him and Dame, and that of course isn't going to work very well. So you got to find a way to. I mean, I don't get it because we talked for years about teams like knowing what's going to happen every time they run a pick and roll against our defense. And so, like, why are we just allowing teams to know what's going to happen? They know Jeremy's going to get picked off. They know Ayton's probably not going to be playing up now if they're watching the film after the first 12 games. But yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you run drop, it starts on the perimeter. It's mostly the guy getting screened. It's mostly his responsibility, right? If you're hedging, then it's on the responsibility of the big to get out and take away that three and give the guy getting through the screen time to get back in front and in a solid position to contain dribble penetration, right? So in different schemes, certain areas of the floor on the pick and roll are different people's responsibilities. When you run drop, it basically is actually kind of a linear progression where at the three-point line, it is the guy getting through the screen. It is his responsibility to get through the screen and not give up that three. Sometimes it's tough, especially when you're allowed to set moving screens like a lot of NBA teams get away with. But it is your responsibility as it funnels downhill. If you're able to get through a screen and compete, it's going to make them uncomfortable pulling up from mid-range, and then you got the big at the rim. So at the rim, it's the guy guarding the screener. It's his responsibility. On the three-point line, it's the perimeter guy's responsibility. And then both guys can have an impact in terms of, you know, if you fight through a screen, it's harder for the ball handler to weave back to the middle. But also, if you have a really good big, they can help take away the mid-range as well. So that's the thing is with a guy like Robert Williams is, he's an all, NBA or an all defensive caliber guy. So in some instances, you'll see it and it'll show up and be like, oh my goodness, look how good he looks. But he can't fix everything. You need more than one guy. And then the problem with Matisse is I think he got overrated because of his steal numbers and block numbers and like defensive highlights he'd make. Like there was a analytic today from, I think it was Basketball Index, that said Matisse Thybulle defensive playmaking is an A+ this year, Eric. And that was basically steals, blocks, deflections, and taking charges. And I see why it's an A+. He does do a lot. He does deflect a lot of passes, get a lot of steals and whatnot. The problem is he seems to give up as much as he gets in terms of he is not good at keeping dribble penetration in front of him. Like he gets beat off the dribble too much. And then those gambles, sometimes he doesn't get the ball and he's completely out of position. And our defense breaks down because of it. So, but you look at those defensive plays and like highlight defensive plays. If you watch a Matisse Thybulle defensive highlight mix, it's going to look amazing. If you look at his steal numbers, it's going to look amazing. If you look at Basketball Index where it says he's an A+ defensive playmaker, it's going to look amazing. So if you don't watch him game in, game out with a clear mind, you're going to sit there and think, oh, Matisse Thybulle is a great defensive player. He deserves to be on all defense, which, writers, right, vote on all defense. And if you're a fan, like, you're going to think he's a great defender. And then when you get him on your team, it's like, oh, wait, it's not that clear cut and simple. So.
but he is a sniper now. So
yeah, I mean, I hope a team wants to trade a first for him. Hopefully there's a team looking there saying, look at his steals, look at his efficiency, look at his defensive playmaking grade.
yeah,
He doesn't even get that many steals though, bro. Although he is playing 20 minutes a game, 1.1 steals per game. Per 36 minutes, it's 1.9, which would be a career low. How is he getting with as many steals as he goes for, Eric, how is he getting a career low in terms of steal percentage? By far this year, actually. By far this year. His next lowest career number per 36 was 2.5. He's at 1.9. He's at 1.9. His steal percentage is 2.6 right now. 2.6%. Previous career low was 3.4. So his steal numbers are down, but it feels like he's going for them more than ever.
Well, just because he's going for him doesn't mean he's getting him. And 2, it's still a relatively small sample size.
Yeah, Matisse, I've been more impressed with his shooting than his defense this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's the thing is like you look at a guy like Jeremy, you look at a guy like Matisse, they aren't the type, they're not like consistent, well-rounded defenders. Aminu and Harkless were well-rounded defenders. They had a big impact. Roka wasn't a well-rounded defender because he couldn't defend the ball. Jeremy can't get through a freaking screen and it crushes him, and he's not a good rebounder. Like, Matisse struggles to keep the ball in front of him at times and gambles a little too much and isn't, like, super versatile. He can't guard, bigs down low. So that's the problem is you get these guys with these reputations, but they're not well-rounded. I'm realizing I care much more about just having a well-rounded, solid defender than somebody that's, like, great in one area and bad in another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So we need those well-rounded defenders, man. That's an area that we need to identify. But me and you weren't super high on Matisse Thybulle when we got him.
Maybe Repair can be that guy eventually, but and Tamani is.
Yeah. I feel like if you had other well-rounded defenders around Tamani, he would look even better defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, we can see it, and we love how hard he plays, but, it's tough when you got dudes around him that aren't great.
All right, little scrappy. Grant doesn't suck. Okay, that's not what we're saying. And no one should be saying that.
He's an offensive player. He's not a two-way guy. That's different than he sucks, but whatever. Thybulle is a better team defender. He can't be the number one guy, says Den Third. I think that's more so like he'll still get steals, right? But he has guys to help make up for him when he gambles and loses, or if he gets beat off the dribble. In the past, he had Joel Embiid behind him, so he was normally fine. Guys would even slow up because of Embiid, and he'd chase him down from behind and get a block. But that's the problem, is we don't have Joel Embiid. So, anyway. Shout out to Chris S. €2 Donna. Says, Jabari owned LeBron. We need more Jabari. Yeah, Jabari has looked good the past few nights, Eric. He had threes last game. Missed a couple threes today, but, had a couple. He's starting to be a little more aggressive off the dribble, and it feels kind of Aminu-ish in a way, but, it's working. Yeah. Which makes it very Aminu-ish, because Aminu would have a lot of drives where it's like, oh, no. Oh, wait, good drive, good take. I don't know how that worked, but good job. Like Jabari has an and one on LeBron, draws a foul on LeBron, and then had, a spin move in transition. It's good. It's good to see, absolutely. I don't... it's like one of those things where I don't expect it to go too well, and then somehow he finds a way to make it work,
Yeah.
Do you get that same feeling? Or no? It's okay if you don't.
No, I feel like he's starting to play a little bit more like he did in college, and that's where he's most comfortable. But I think he's feeding off he's making plays defensively, and that's I think that's kind of fueling him to get faster. But he had a really nice finish on a fast break. But if he just turned around, he had two guys like wide open on the other side too. So it's still a work in progress. But he's definitely like proving that he can be a rotation guy. It's nice to see. I actually want like I talked about needing that other guy next to Tamani there at the forward spot. Like I kind of want to see more minutes, Jabari and Tamani.
Yeah,
because at least I know those guys are like, it's not going to be because of a lack of effort or giving up on a play or dying on a screen. Even if they get picked off on a screen, they're still going to try to get back into the play.
Yeah. I'm still not sure if Jabari is a rotation player on a good team, but he's certainly a rotation player on this team. Certainly. Yeah. Easily. Yeah. Like, so he still has a little ways to go to be a rotation player on a good team, in my opinion. And basically the progress he needs to make is hitting threes consistently. He's shown good flashes the past couple of games, tonight 0 for 2. It's only 2 shots though. On the season he's shooting, let me check this. On the season he's shooting 35% from 3. So he's kind of right there. You want him, I want Jabari hitting threes the way Matisse Thybulle's hitting threes right now.
Yeah.
Where Matisse is overachieving a little bit on the season. He's 42%, but his shot looks good. He's shooting with confidence. And his form looks good even. Jabari I still think looks a little stiff in a way when he shoots, but players can improve that just by gaining more confidence. So I don't know. In the past, I felt like Matisse's jumper looked stiff, and now his jumper looks more smooth, more consistent in a way, his shooting form. And that's part of the reason why I think he's shooting better. I think some of that just comes with putting in that work. Putting in that work as a shooter. And Thybulle definitely puts in that work, and you're seeing it. You're seeing it in a Blazer uniform. He's a sniper. So that's the thing with Tamani and Jabari. That's going to be the key for them, man, is can they find a way to become solid NBA three-point shooters? Because if they can, they're really good role players.
Yeah.
But you talk about those two pairing together, and in a way, I totally agree with that. And in a way, it shows why, in order to improve the defense, the Blazers need to move on from Jeremy Grant. Because Jeremy Grant might not be an awful defender. He might not necessarily be people always want to designate, who's the problem with the defense, right? The problem is more than just one guy. The problem is a collection of dudes. But I think the Blazers, long-term, need a good, well-rounded hustle guy defender at that power forward spot. The problem is, right now, the Blazers would be insanely uncompetitive without his offense. They need his offense. But in the future, if Scoot develops, you get Ant back, you got Sharpe, you got Brogdon, you got Ayton. You should have enough offense to get by without Jeremy Grant. Mm-hmm. If you can play some good defense, then as a team, be between 10th, 15th best defensive team, then all of a sudden you're talking about a team that's competitive and winning games semi-regularly. Maybe they're not a playoff team, but maybe they'd be a play-in caliber team. But that's the problem right now. The offense is terrible because, in part, the guys were missing, and then the defense is bad because Jeremy Grant can't get it done. The defense looks better when Jeremy Grant's out of the game, when you got two guys that were drafted in the 50s the past 2 years playing at the small forward and power forward spots.
So do you have an example off the top of your head of a guy you would target to be that guy?
Not off the top of my head. I'd have to go look through, Trade Machine, and I haven't really looked at Trade Machine stuff a ton this year. Chat, feel free to toss out recommendations. It's also hard to identify that guy without watching teams consistently. And I haven't had the opportunity to watch a ton of other NBA games so far this year, even though I'm paying for League Pass. So, you know who I hope it can be if we get him? Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr is kind of who I'm hoping it can be. Obviously he has the size advantage too, but he has good defensive traits, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's the thing why you see like Mobley at the 4, Chet at the 4, like those guys would be perfect because not only are they big, not only are they mobile, so they have like all the tools to be good, but they're also smart. They also read things well. And the thing is, when you have that sort of length, it makes it easier to go under screens on shooters. Because it's a little easier to get back and like truly contest the 3 if you go under because you got that sort of length. That's why Wemby would have fixed all our problems in a way. Although San Antonio's defense is awful, so maybe not. Like, I don't understand it. But is there anybody that fits that mold for you?
Well, hypothetically, how much would you be willing to give up for Mobley?
Our pick this year, even if it's number 1.
Yeah, might be. I guess you could word it like they get the best of our pick or Golden State's pick or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, which would probably be irrelevant, because...
Would you, if they asked for like another first on top of that, would you do it?
I do our picking, probably Golden State's pick this year, assuming it's not lottery.
Yeah.
Does Chet play any 4? No, but I think he can, Trevin. He might. They don't have a big, though, yeah. Like, if they had, like, Robert Williams, I think would have been a really good player for them if he had stayed healthy. Like, that's the team I was looking at. And I was actually talking to a Thunder fan the other day, and he's like, dude, I wanted Robert Williams before he got hurt. And it's like... It was a dude that didn't even know I had a YouTube channel. When he was telling me this, I was like, yeah, I thought he would be perfect. Perfect compliment on both sides of the floor. So,
I don't know. I look at some players that were drafted high that aren't playing right now. I think like Jarris Walker or Taylor Hendricks are the players that come to mind right away. I don't know.
yeah, I just don't see those teams giving up on
No,
them.
I agree. I'm just trying to think of guys. Like, I'm not saying they're available or not. I'm just trying to...
Stanley says, Jonathan Isaac, yes, that's what we need. Another player that cannot stay healthy.
Yes.
That's the other thing. Like, can we stop trying to trade for players that always get hurt? Because if they end up in Portland, they will definitely get hurt. That's what I said about Robert Williams. Look at him. He's out for the season already.
Aaron Messer mentioned a guard.
He's trolling, I think. I don't know. Or he's confusing him with something else. You know who is like kind of like a really good example of the big, well-rounded defender that doesn't get enough love across the league for his defense because it's not like super flashy. He's also a really good offensive player. I'll give you one guess of who I'm talking about. Let's see.
I don't know.
Young player, rookie contract, good offensively, but very underrated defensively, big. Playing on one of the best defensive teams this year. Let's see if you can get it, chat. I love making you guys guess. I'll give you 20 seconds. If anyone guesses it, you get a shout out and some love. Cat? No. Not Cat. Can you repeat that? Okay. Good offensive player, big, on his rookie contract, but like a really solid defender that doesn't get much love for it because it's not a super flashy guy.
On his rookie contract.
And big doesn't mean big man, just big like he has size.
Is it Ben Guest in chat yet?
No.
I was thinking someone on Houston, but
No.
yeah.
Different
All right.
young team, one of the best defenses in the league so far this season.
That's
Dang,
what I was
I don't
thinking
think
of.
anyone's-
Yeah.
Yeah. In the Eastern Conference. Team is blue. Their team color is blue.
Franz?
Yes. Yes,
God,
Franz.
let's go.
Yeah, Franz Wagner. Franz Wagner. He, like, Orlando's the third-ranked defense right now. A big part of that is Franz is versatile, and he's not, like, flashy. He's not going to make a bunch of, like, huge plays, but he's solid, bro. He's solid, and that was part of the appeal of him coming out of college, where, like, I questioned having him, like, top 10 because it was, like, offensively, it wasn't clear exactly what his role would be, and then defensively, it was, like, he had some good traits, but was he quick enough, like, to guard guards, and, there's just, like, kind of question marks for me, but then he comes to the league, like, he can handle the ball and is skilled and is shifty enough at his size where he's a really good offensive player, and he can pass, like, he's smart. On the defensive end, he's really solid. He's really solid. Aeromaster said Franz gets defensive love. Yeah, from the people that know what they're talking about, but I feel like if you start talking about, like, impactful defenders, young players, I don't know, I feel like Franz's name doesn't get brought up enough because he's more solid. He's not like a super flashy defender. So, but, like, that's the type of player, right? Like, where you look at this draft and it's like, people talking about this draft class being weak at the top, and I kind of agree. But Franz Wagner was, what was he, the 6th pick? And at the time, we felt like it was a reach. He's the type of player that, like, could be in this year's draft that...
8th, maybe?
Oh, yeah, it was 8th, because Suggs was 5th.
I think it was the 6th pick in our fantasy.
Yes, he was the 6th pick in our mock off-season draft. And we laughed at it at the time, and it ended up being a good pick. He went 8th, and it was like, we felt like it was a little high, but that was a steal, right? Like, that's going to be the key in a draft that maybe isn't the best this year if the Blazers aren't getting a guy like Sarr at the top or, aren't drafting top 3. Who's the next, like, not super flashy prospect, but is good in a bunch of areas that makes it work at the NBA level in the way like Franz has? Like, who's the next Franz? You're not going to have the same exact type of player, but from a prospect evaluation standpoint, Franz wasn't flashy. We weren't super high on Franz. Like, so who is that this year? That is something to figure out, in my opinion. Who can be that well-rounded defender that doesn't really have many weaknesses and then has some juice offensively? Eric Olsen said Flag and Sarr. Those guys are top 3 prospects. Those guys are like, Flag and Sarr, yes. But those are top 3 prospects, right? Like, it's like, if you're not picking there, or the Warriors pick could be like 10th if they miss the playoffs. That could be our 2nd pick. So if you can get Sarr with the 1st pick, that 2nd pick matters too, because if you can get another dude that can be a starting caliber player, good defensive piece going forward, that makes the rebuild so much easier when you still have all the unprotected picks on the back end. So that's where it's about finding that guy. I also wouldn't hate, depending on what we do to, like, thin out our guard rotation, like Cason Wallace has looked amazing this year. Like, he's shooting over 50% from 3, really good defender. Like, 59% from 3 for Cason Wallace, 64% from the field.
Just not freaking miss.
Yeah. Who's a Kentucky guard? Who's a Kentucky guard? Eric Rob Dillingham? Although he doesn't feel like... I don't know. He's not... I don't know. It's just Kentucky guards come into the league and they are amazing, like, compared to where they were drafted. I mean, Cason Wallace is still early, right? So, like, not to overreact, but...
Yeah.
I mean, look at Tyrese Maxey right now. Look at Tyler Hero right now. Tyler Hero's played good. Now he's hurt, but... The Kentucky guard thing is a real thing, it seems like. So...
Shaedon Sharpe.
Yeah, I guess he's a Kentucky guard. Yeah, even when they don't play, and they just spend a little bit of time in Kentucky. Would y'all trade Ayton? I mean, we're not getting anything for him, so there's no point to even, like, discuss it. I'm not going to sit here and be like, guys, they might be able to get the 3rd pick for him. I'm not gonna do that, you know. But Justin Edwards, see, I haven't watched he's a Kentucky guy, but he's a forward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, small forward.
Yeah.
Let's do Tankathon now that we're talking about this.
Okay, we'll do Tankathon. We shall do some Tankathon.
You should run the sim on the mock draft page. Not that it matters that much, but it's cool to see like the prospects and stuff.
Chat, let me know if you want me to run it on the mock draft page too. If chat agrees, I'll do it.
You don't like that idea? Jeez.
I'm just used to doing it the other way. I don't have anything against it. But I do want, at first, let's show the odds, because you can see the odds on the main page. So I want to show the odds first, and then we can run it on everything. Yeah, I'll run it my way, and I'll run it Eric's way, and I'll see which way is a better result. I'll run it your way for the official rule, though. Okay, there's Tankathon. Finally got it to load. All right. Tankathon. Let me get it above that. Okay, so, Eric, where have you seen this sort of picture before? Right now, we have tied for 4th best odds, so a little better, but we also have a pick that's 11th. Are you having deja vu from a couple years ago? Does this remind you of the Pelicans pick? Because that's what it does for me.
At least they don't have Golden State doesn't have another pick that we don't get, even though they could get a pick at 11. And yeah,
look at that Lakers pick to New Orleans. They owe picks to them for forever. So we'd have a 90.6% chance of keeping the Golden State pick. Yeah, like if it starts to get higher. Here's the thing. We don't keep the Golden State pick if it's top 4. If it's top 4, who does it go to? Does it go back to Golden State?
I believe it goes to Memphis.
Yeah, I was traded twice last offseason.
Well, actually, I think it's actually it is Golden State. I'm pretty sure now that I'm thinking about it.
Can we trade the 5 seconds we got for GP2 back to them for it to be unprotected? Like, I'm okay. I'm happy with where this pick is. If it gets much higher, then I'm really worried about it moving up into the top 4. Because that would really screw us. It knocks us out of the top 4 and they move into the top 4 and we lose their pick. Like, what do we get if it's top 4?
It just goes to the next year, and then it's only protected top 1.
That's not horrible, I guess.
Yeah. Which sucks. If it was unprotected in 2025, it would be perfect because
then I'd be okay with it.
We'd have another shot at Cooper Flag potentially.
Hey, I will say this though, Ace Bailey, kind of intriguing in next year's draft as a big.
2026 is unprotected if it happened to be one. So
okay, so honestly, it's not.
We could get Boozer.
Yeah, like, and Steph would be another year older. Clay would be another year older. Draymond would probably find a way to get suspended again next season, and maybe it'll be longer due to his reputation. So honestly, if it is top 4, I'm not even tripping.
Yeah, I mean,
like, it kind of sucks, but it just pushes it off to another year and a better draft.
Yeah, unless they rebound next year and are better or make some good moves, but
yeah, but I mean, like, I'm okay with it being, 6th best odds at number 1, and then we get if it's 6, right? Like,
for sure.
So, yeah, okay, that's interesting. So it's not like the New Orleans pick where we end up with, like, basically a guaranteed late first. That 2025 Milwaukee first is going to be late,
Trevin has a great point. If it doesn't convey till 2026, that means they have Cooper Flag.
Yeah. So we're screwed in that case. Like, God, dude, could you imagine? Yeah, like I'm not worried about it not conveying next year if it's only protected top one. Like, because yeah, that'd just be such a alternate universe that would just be kind of miserable. But you know, like after Steph, like they'd still have a rebuild process. So
Yeah.
Because Steph is getting up there in age. So, yeah, that's intriguing. So we're not tripping about losing this pick like we were the Pelicans pick, the New Orleans
Right,
pick.
because it's not an all or nothing proposition.
Yeah. So like, I'm cool with it moving up. They've lost 5 in a row. We're rooting against the Warriors. We're rooting against the Warriors. I want it to be like 5th to 8th best odds. Where like if we get it, it's pretty high, and then if they move up, it moves on to next year. So I'm rooting against them. I don't know if I want it to be like top 4 odds.
I'm fine with that because...
Well, it's not going to be top 4 odds. They're not going to be one of the 4 worst teams in the league. So I'm rooting against them. I'm rooting against Golden State. So right now, 11th. We'd have the 5th and 11th picks. Let's simulate it the Eric way, which is the mock draft way. Scroll down. Go up from the bottom at 14 is the Phoenix Suns. The Lottery Suns. They won tonight, though, so good for them. They beat the Jazz, which the Jazz were 2-0, almost 3-0 if they won this game in the in-season tournament. At 13, you got the Rockets getting... They have the next Nikola Jovic and Alperen Sengun, apparently, and they also have the next Nikola Jokic and Nikola Topic. Or Topic, or however you say his name. So, they might as well get Nikola Jovic, too. At 12, you got the Hawks. At 11, you got the Portland Trailblazers via the Golden State Warriors. At 10, you got the San Antonio Spurs. At 9, you got the Thunder. At 8, you got the Jazz. At 7, you got the Bulls. At 6, you got the Hornets. At 5, you got the San Antonio Spurs moving down 1.
That means we moved up.
Yeah, and the Spurs most likely don't get to pair Alex Sarr with Victor Wembanyama.
Castle, then.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty good prospect for him. At 4 is the Detroit Pistons. At 3 is the Memphis Grizzlies. At 2 is the Portland Trailblazers. And at 1 is the Washington Wizards. So,
did you see who we took?
Isaiah Collier, 5-guard lineup.
Let's go.
Yeah, we're going to reinvent the wheel. So you got the Wizards at 1. They don't have a long-term starting point guard, right? Like, am I forgetting about someone?
I mean, Poole, I guess.
He ain't. Yeah, I think right now, if the draft shook out this way, Isaiah Collier is going number 1.
Yeah.
That's the thing with this, like, I could see, like, 5 different guys go number 1. And it's the top 5 on this mock draft. Like, there is no clear-cut number 1 right now. That's what makes this draft so intriguing to talk about right now. So Isaiah Collier at number 1. Let's just say Collier goes number 1 for conversation's sake, Eric. At number 2, we're both taking Sarr, right?
Yes. But, yeah, right now, yeah.
Okay. And then at number 11, I have no idea who I'd take at number 11. Cody Williams. Jalen Williams' little brother. I'm just saying him because he's 6'8" and went to Colorado, so he has the, Chauncey would like him, and, we're going to keep Chauncey forever, and also, I don't know, brothers have success in the league. Like, if one brother can figure out, the other one can, right? Nope, just kidding, we got Chris Murray.
That's a low blow.
I'm sorry. There's a lot of... So you got Proctor. I mean, it's very early. You're going to have people rise up from all over the place, but... Hey, Cody Williams is a guy to watch, I think.
DJ Wagner, there's your Kentucky guard.
Oh, yeah, DJ Wagner. Yeah. He can be our Brogdon replacement.
Yeah.
Still start Sharp at the 3 with Ant and Scoot. And yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. We got to figure out what our long-term plan is at point guard, shooting guard, small forward. Like, or is it those 3 guys or is it 2 of those 3 guys? We also got to figure out if in the next, like, 3 years, we're going to have to figure out if Scoot's, like, the real deal. You know?
Why don't we just draft Bronny and then we have LeBron too?
Bronny at 11.
Yeah. Why not?
We get LeBron, and then Dame requests a trade back after winning a chip. And then we trade, the Milwaukee package back to them. We trade them their picks back. And then we have Dame, LeBron. We have Dame, Dame, Simons, LeBron, Sarr, and Ayton. Then off the bench, we have Scoot and Sharpe and Robert Williams.
We'd probably trade Ayton to match salary.
True. True. Okay. So we got LeBron at the 4 and Sarr at the 5, and we start Dame and Sharpe, and then we got Scoot off the bench behind Dame. Could you imagine bench Dame for Scoot conversations?
Yeah.
Would be wild. But you know what I would do for those right now? You know what I'd do to have those conversations right now? Man. Oh, it sucks. It sucks. I can't. Is it sad that I just cannot wait until the off season? Oh, this one got us number 2 as well.
Nice. So same.
And also moved up Toronto. Yeah, so it's the same deal. Same thing.
Tyler James says, Eric, do you take Collier there if he's there at number 2? If I'm most teams, I probably am, but I.
What are we doing if we take him? Trade the pick then.
Can we trade that? Yeah, can we trade it, please?
But you know how ironic it would be to like trade the number 2 pick next offseason compared to the number 3 pick this past offseason when Scoot was there? Like now we'll get Mikal Bridges.
I mean, I really think the whole Scoot's generational thing is what messed it all up. It's like, you can't give up on Scoot. Like, what if he's a Hall of Fame player and you traded him?
But what if he's not? You traded a Hall of Fame player. Yeah.
No, but that's what I'm saying is, like, I think they didn't want to risk that. But in this draft, I think it's a lot easier to justify trading it because you're like, oh, well, we're not that high on anyone in the draft.
Collier might be more likely to be a Hall of Fame player than Scoot. Who knows?
But, like, if you just traded down, like, let's say you wanted to take Sarr and you knew someone really wanted Collier and you got, what did Washington get for, or not Washington get, but they traded up with the Pacers, right? And,
yeah, I forget what they got.
I think they got a couple seconds or something. It wasn't anything, like, major. But you had a couple just assets and you take the guy you were going to take anyway at that pick, so.
Yeah. True. And then the second round, I'm going to try and start scouting earlier than ever this year. All I know is Gonzaga has this, like, freshman 6'10" big that can shoot and has just, like, been dominant the first 2 games. Now they played Yale at Eastern Oregon, so who knows, but...
Yeah, I recorded a bunch of games the other day.
You ever heard of Braden Huff?
Is that the Gonzaga guy?
Yeah, that's the Gonzaga guy I'm talking about.
I've heard of him, but never seen him play. So.
We just get these guys when they come in, and I'm just like, oh, whatever. They're not Chet. They're not Jalen Suggs. Like, okay. And then they, like, end up being really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Timmy was one of those guys. Rui was one of those guys. So.
Future Blazer, Rui Hachimura.
Yup. I wish. Be amazing.
We're trading Jeremy Grant for him later this season.
Honestly, I feel like the Lakers are the team to trade for Jeremy Grant. Yeah. Because they can trade a future first right now. It's just, what do they... Yeah, like Rui and something else and a first-round pick for Jeremy Grant. I would do that in a heartbeat. Would you?
Yeah.
The problem is it's going to be a protected first-round pick, you know, but...
Mm-hmm.
And if they are dumb enough to make it an unprotected first-round pick, then I am running to the hills with all our unprotected picks.
A 2029 first.
Yeah, give us a 2029 first. And then trade Brogdon to the Heat for an unprotected 2029 first. So you have Portland, the Lakers, the Bucks, the Heat, and the Celtics all unprotected 2029 first. You know how much fun that would be for us in 5 years?
Dude,
all this struggle just leads up to that.
That's what I do in like franchise mode in 2K. It's just, you like trade all your players for future picks, and then those picks come, then you trade those for like multiple future firsts, and then eventually you have every pick in the first round.
Could you imagine like on draft lottery night, right? Like we have like 2nd, 5th, and 8th best odds at the
or we have like the 24th through the 30th picks.
Okay. Well, I was trying to be positive considering we need anything to be positive about, so I'm dreaming.
How unlucky would that be if those were like the 5 best teams that year or whatever? That'd be so unfortunate. We're like all hyped all season. And
I'm just envisioning like they go to the Final Four and there's only 2 people at podiums. Our guy, Damian Lillard, after he's retired, and whoever is there for, I don't know. The thing is, there's so many unprotected picks traded that far down the line, bro. Those lotteries are actually going to be insane.
Yeah.
You got the Timberwolves there, and they're a playoff team because they still got Anthony Edwards, and the Cavs are just depressed because they've imploded or something, and they don't have their picks. The Hawks have imploded. Trae Young left in free agency. They don't have their picks. The Spurs are sitting there with Wemby after a championship having the Hawks unprotected picks for DeJounte Murray. The Clippers aren't there, even though they suck. Lakers aren't there, even though they suck. Like
Suns.
Yeah, Suns, who knows? Like, dude, I am fascinated to see what things look like in 5 years. There's a legitimate chance that, we talk about like, oh, there's parity. There's a legitimate chance that the gap between the worst teams and the best teams in the league by then like widens a ton. Mm-hmm. But also, there was a tweet the other day about like expansion, and everybody's just assumed, oh, they're gonna like it's not a well kept secret at this point that after their new TV deal, the NBA is gonna expand, and it's been Seattle and Las Vegas the whole entire time.
Yeah.
And but there's also let me try and find it. I tweet too much though. So Keith Smith tweeted out, since this is getting play, it's pretty open secret that Seattle and Las Vegas are clear frontrunners for the next 2 NBA teams. It would be a surprise if they didn't get the 2 teams. Real question, does the NBA expand beyond 2 teams and become the first of 34 teams? Because there is a tweet where Adam Silver talked about a couple cities in the U.S. and also mentioned Mexico City and Vancouver and possibly Montreal.
Yeah, I just don't.
You either expand to 32 or you expand to 36. Mm-hmm. Like 34 puts 17 teams in each conference. I mean, I guess you could completely do away with divisions because you can't divide divisions evenly with 17 teams in a conference.
Right.
So if you want to keep divisions, it makes more sense to just add a team to every division, expand 6. But it's like Las Vegas and Seattle are sitting right there for you. But then if you want to expand internationally, like Mexico City, Vancouver, I mean, you might as well just go full on with it. I think. So I had a tweet. I said they should think about putting a couple teams in Europe. Now, logistics with travel is tough, but basically my whole tweet, I assume you read it, Eric?
Yeah.
So I'll read it off for chat. So I said, if they're going to expand that much, might as well jump to 36 to keep conferences balanced and grab as much cash as they can, because they want cash. Seattle, Las Vegas, Vancouver, Mexico City, 2 teams in Europe. So you got 1 team in Canada, 1 team in Mexico, 2 teams in Europe. team back in Seattle, and a team in Las Vegas. Like, this is more so just like, it's fun to think about in hypotheticals like this. It probably wouldn't play out like this, but right, you add 6 teams. That's 6 expansion fees for the owners, and you expand. I said make teams that play road trips in Europe play both the Europe teams in one go, right? So don't make them take a trip overseas to Europe just for one European game. I also said have the NBA teams that are traveling to Europe to play the 2 European teams play against each other in an international game while they're over there, right? So, like, if you got, say, the Bucks and the Knicks playing overseas, right, on one night, each of them is playing one European team, and on the other night they're playing the other European team, then have them play a third game overseas, played in freaking Greece. If Giannis is still on the Bucks. Like, have an international game. And just basically make it where most teams are only taking one trip overseas every season. And you're like basically trying to grow the game because you got a couple teams in Europe for fans to buy into. And you also have like international games over there. And then European teams, right, when they come over to the US and play, like they're going to be playing, 6-7 game road trips, right? And then they'll play 6-7 game homestands, right? Just make it so try and minimize the travel for those teams because obviously it'd be a little bit rough, but what do you think of that?
I think that's a good way to try and make it work a little bit. And obviously you'd have to give the purse or split it. I don't know how you do that, but yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea, but I do question how it could work, in certain cities or that far away, like in Europe. Outside of doing things like you said, I still don't know if that's enough to do it full time.
Yeah, I just think I know the NFL has looked at trying to expand to Europe. I think it would be easier for the NBA too. And also it's like the NBA is growing into a global game. I feel like they're going to want to try and accelerate that growth. Especially with all the momentum with look at Luka, look at Jokic, look at Giannis. Right? Look at Wemby now. The game is growing overseas. And now you have these overseas stars that are some of the most visible stars in sports from European countries, right? The only thing that, you got soccer that can top it, but, people know Giannis, people know Jokic, people know Luka. They're already doing international games to try and grow the game overseas. What better thing than to put couple teams in Europe. I don't know where they put them, but man, I think in the future they're going to want to expand to Europe, and it's going to be more than 2 teams. Yeah. I don't know how much the league grows and expands, but I think in the future they're going to want to have a division in Europe, a 6-team division in Europe, maybe a 5-team division in Europe, right? If it gets to 40, I don't know. So I'm just that's kind of fun to think about. It would be fun to have. I think it would be fun to have teams in Europe.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. If it started growing globally like that, that would be kind of fun. And I think at some point in the distant future, it will. I don't know how fast, but I think that's the future. So that'd be fun. That'd be fun. Eric Olson says, overgrowth, too much, stop. Why? Why is it overgrowth? Because here's the thing. You continue to grow the game internationally, you're going to have more international stars. You're going to have more people playing the game. The product shouldn't suffer if you have more people playing the game worldwide. You're going to have more people contributing to that talent pool. Right? The more people that play the game. So, winning the NBA championship would be much harder. But I think it'd be fun. Then they could really be considered world champs.
It would be tough though, in the playoffs, playoff series against the European
Yeah, that
teams.
is the tough team. Yeah, that is the tough thing. But
Truly Spencer asks, Eric and Tori, how does it work with the expansion teams getting to possibly draft a player from us? Can we make certain players off limits? Yeah, the current rule is you can protect up to 8 players.
This is if you add 2 teams.
If you had 2 teams, yeah.
If you had 6, it would probably be a little bit less.
Yeah.
Like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Probably 6.
And then if it's 2 teams, one of the 2 teams take one of your players, then they can't take a second one, so they can only take 1 per team.
Yeah. So that stuff is fun to talk about. Anyway, let's end off the stream with this comment to go back to the Blazers. There's a comment. Don't you guys know we're supposed to be bad this year? Also, our 2 best guards are injured right now. It's okay if we lose. The guys will develop and get better over the course of the season. So that type of comment just says to me, like, we shouldn't watch games at all. Because it doesn't matter what happens on the court right now. Like, nothing matters. Like, yes, obviously young players will get better as they play games. So we don't need to watch games. Like, they'll be playing games. Like, we don't need to watch games. Because it doesn't matter what happens on the court. Like, we've gotten that comment a lot. Like, you guys knew we were supposed to be bad. Why are you upset about things? Like, blah, 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 blah. We still care about the style of basketball this team's playing. Okay, obviously, on a game-to-game basis, like, if we're still doing post-game shows, we're not going to be completely checked out from the performance in a specific game. But also, you want these guys learning the right things. So, if you're not... if it's obvious that things are being taught the right way, players aren't getting taught how to get put through screens, like the offense is super stagnant, it's not the best for development in the first place. And at the end of the day, I want to try and enjoy watching these games, even if they have guys missing, so I want to see them move the ball. I want to see them... I don't want to see Jeremy Grant die on a screen. He's a veteran. If that's a young guy, sure. Tamani does it, like, Tamani's struggling with that. I'll admit that. But I'm not going to really... feel some type of way about it. When it's Jeremy Grant being lazy, not fighting through a screen, when it's DeAndre Ayton like not getting the loose ball in a close game, that stuff's gonna aggravate me. That stuff's gonna be aggravating. So, but then we get comments like, "Why are you mad? We were gonna be bad this year." Like, didn't you know that? Like, it's just kind of smart ass comment, yeah. I don't get the point.
We'll
Go
see
ahead.
how it plays out, but part of the reason we're mad is because they kept all these veterans and didn't flip them and tried to win. And now a guy like Robert Williams has no trade value because he's hurt. And we can't trade some players till later in the season. And the players we could have traded in the offseason, we didn't. And we talk about how good of a role model they are and then we play them like 30 plus minutes a game and they get hurt. And so, yeah, part of the problem is you can keep saying that, and Cronin can keep giving the excuse that it's a young team or whatever. But I'm really big on actions, believing actions over words, especially with Joe Cronin. And there is no way you can't tell me that he didn't expect to be somewhat decent this year.
Yep. And as a competitor, as a competitive person, I am not going to continuously getting our ass beat on the court. I'm not going to enjoy that. I understand that that's what it's going to be, but it freaking sucks, dude. Like, going to the game, last game, in a way, like, I enjoyed it, but it also, in a way, made me sad. Like, man, I remember when this place was rocking. Mm-hmm. I remember when these games were like, the product on the floor was fun to watch, even in a close loss, because the intensity was high and you knew, like, you belonged on the court with the other team. In November, feeling like we don't even belong on the court with the other team at times is sad, man. Like, we got tired of making the playoff year in, year out, and, like, never feeling like we had a chance to win at all. Now it's like staring on a third year where we're not going to make the playoffs. Now it's like, man, it would be kind of fun to be able to talk about the playoffs, who we match up against, what a series could look like, do post-game shows in a playoff series. Because at this point, like, I don't know if we're going to see it in the next 3 years. That's going to be a, 5-year hiatus? It's been 5 years since we've won a playoff series, if you count this year. 5 years, Eric. I remember when we broke our 14-year playoff streak, and who was it? Mike Tirico was saying the Blazers win a series for the first time in 14 years. I don't want to approach that again. So, you know, it's. I understand that it's a process and it's a rebuild, but at the same time, dude, it is freaking tough, especially on us when we do post-game shows and cover the team every game. It is. This is the most challenging time of my life running this channel and as a Blazer fan. Like, it is tough.
I also want to say if we're critiquing the way Chauncey is developing these guys or teaching bad habits and the defense is not looking great, the offense isn't looking great, like those aren't fair points. Like Torrey saying he wants more consistency on the way they're trying to attack screen navigation on defense, like that's completely fair to me, no matter if the team's the best team in the league or the worst team in the league. That should be a question.
If we're good and we criticize it, it's, this team is good, why are you complaining? You're so negative. If they're bad and we criticize it, it's, this team is supposed to be bad, why are you criticizing it? Like, you know? So I don't know, man. Like, I get it. If we're sitting here coming off a championship and we're criticizing everything, like, but at that point, I'd just be like, well, they'll probably figure it out. They won the championship last year, you know? They have a championship hangover, like, whatever, right? The
I always said I would give Stotts a pass if we won a championship.
Yeah, the problem is we're sitting here as one of the bottom 5 organizations in the league right now. We're, you know, we got to build our way out of that the right way, but that's where we are right now. It's not fun. It sucks. It sucks. I would love to feel good about this team. And we will feel better about this team when we get guys back, but...
Remember FanFest when Cronin was acting like he was a rock star and like getting autographs and taking pictures with all the fans and stuff, and everyone was treating him like some sort of deity?
Yep. People saying he already has Executive of the Year locked up and is a genius and this and that.
But no, we're supposed to be like, no, they were going to suck all along.
Yeah. Yeah. Freaking sucks.
But yeah, I mean, the record is what it is. I mean,
3-9.
It's probably better that long term, this is probably better. It's just it's still, until they for sure trade the veterans and make it that way on purpose. I have a hard time giving the organization a pass for those things.
Yep. Dame was literally like the one thing holding this organization together, bro. Like, and some people acted like we were better off without him. Like, I understand wanting to go that direction, but some people acted like we'd be a better team without him, or have a better style of play, better off, you know, better defense, noticeably better defense. Like, we could be a top 10 defense now that we got rid of Dame. Like, Dame was the only one keeping us relevant. Dame was the only one keeping us looking like we had a competent product on the floor. Like, yeah, we're missing guys, but bro, it's not a coincidence that the year we're without Dame, we go from, with Dame, we were like, with Dame on the floor, we were like maybe the best offense in the league, right? And without him on the floor, we were like the worst offense in the league last year. And now that he's gone,
bum, selfish.
Yeah, doesn't make his teammates better. Bro, okay, if we're the worst team in the league without him on offense, without him on the floor, and the best team with him on the floor, statistically last year, how does he not make any of his teammates better? What, that's all his scoring? Is taking the team from worst to best? It's just his scoring, really? That's why I hate doesn't make his teammates better. He makes everything so much easier on his teammates. Like, it's not coincidence that we lose Dame, we go from that level of offense to the worst in the league. The worst in the league. And we brought in a center that was supposed to help our offense compared to Nurkic and Ayton. Like, we had a better bench going into this year. You know, yes, we've had some injuries, but shoot, our offense on opening night didn't look too good. You know? Our offense in the preseason didn't look too good. Our offense just hasn't looked good this whole time. And it's not like subbing out Robert Williams III for Duop Reith is hurting our offense. Like, that's not like Robert Williams is a good lob target. Duop can shoot though. Can score around the rim a little bit. The thing is Robert Williams is 1,000 times the rebounder and defender is Duop Reith, which is why he's much, much better. But yeah, so I don't know. It's rough. Rough out here, man. Rough out here.
And it's especially rough when Sharpe is just completely lost any sense of taking care of the freaking basketball.
We didn't even talk about him tonight. That's crazy.
I know you're not as concerned as I am about it, but
not at all.
He
has a messed up hand.
Yeah, but
he's playing point guard without much ball handling around him. Yes, some of them are like, bro, like, what are you doing? There is a lot of those plays, but yeah, I'm not worried. But go ahead.
Yeah, at some point, you need to value taking care of the basketball.
Yeah, I mean,
10 turnovers is not a record.
If he was 26,
NBA record is 16.
Yeah, if he was 26 doing that, yeah, he's 20. He's supposed to be a rookie this year, like. So if he hadn't made progress in that regard, too, the progress that he's made, I feel like, and as a playmaker and ball handler, then I'd be more worried. But like we've seen him make noticeable improvements there. The thing is, as I said on a previous postgame show, he still has a long ways to go, and we see that like tonight. So that's why I feel like you're gonna have some games like this when he's thrust into playing point guard and he's probably worn down, and he even kind of like hinted at that in a interview, and he has like a hand that's a little messed up, and this team is just kind of dysfunctional as a whole. Like there's just a lot of reasons that I feel like can contribute to that. So definitely don't want to see him turn the ball over 10 times. Like that is very bad. You know, at the same time, like long term, I'm not tripping about it.
They almost got caught with that stupid Cam Reddish throw the ball in bounds. I know Blazer broadcast barely caught it, but they almost did that again.
I also think it's harder to. This is gonna sound like an excuse, but when you're just getting beat down game in, game out, I feel like it might be a little harder to like lock in and not make those mistakes, which he needs to. But
I mean,
it's the vibes around this team are not good right now, man. Like this team does not feel locked in.
Agree, but he's just so like sloppy and careless with the ball. I do feel like he's. I don't know. I know it's the minutes. It's just.
Yeah.
I just like to see him just take a little bit better care of the ball. And not make lazy cross court passes. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah. I think when No, I agree. He's just in a tough spot. Like, he's being thrown to the wolves, man. He's being thrown to the wolves.
I think he's overpassing though. Like, just freaking shoot the ball. Like, it's the opposite of Jeremy. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a couple times where he was aggressive shooting the ball though, and it was off. Like he had a
but I don't mind it.
Three. Yeah. I'd rather him overpass than be completely selfish though. You know what I mean? It shows me like he's trying to be unselfish and trying to make the right play. He's just making the wrong play. Whereas somebody that's just chucking shot after shot, it's like, man, he just doesn't care. He's kind of selfish, right? Like he doesn't care about his teammate, like giving the ball to a teammate. I don't know.
It was fumbling the ball.
Yeah, like there was a couple turnovers too. Like he had a pass out to Tamani who just dropped it out of bounds. Like, but I think there's times where he tries to attack, then feels like he gets stuck, and then jump passes is really what it is. So that is, you can't jump pass unless you know for sure where you're going with the ball and you know that it's going to be there. like some people say never ever jump pass, but I think jump passing is fine in the right situations. But the problem is he gets stuck, jumps without a plan, and then tries to like throw against his body, and it's just an automatic turnover. So he needs to. That's where I think he needs to anticipate a little bit earlier in his drive, and that's also where Eric. I feel like if he could develop a little bit of a floater where he didn't feel the need to try and get all the way to the rim, then he wouldn't get stuck.
Yeah.
I just feel like he never really shoots shots between the rim and like 12 feet.
Yeah, that's what I want him to do. He tries to get to the rim. It's been causing some trouble with charges and stuff, which that's fine. I just don't like the slow passes or the you know how he dribbles so far away from his body sometimes. He tries to do that through traffic and it's just not working for him.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I'm over an hour and a half behind and this chat still makes sense right now in the main part. That's funny.
Well, when you get to this part, you'll realize we're talking about the Blazers again.
Yeah.
All right.
Synced up well. Anyway, did not plan on streaming. I've only planned on streaming for an hour, so we streamed for over 2 hours. I'm ready to chill.
Yeah.
So, we'll catch you guys again on Sunday. Mac for a bear tomorrow. If you're here on Sunday, ask that question again. Save it. Because yeah, I'm exhausted. I've had a long week, bro. So not trying to dodge your question. Didn't want you to feel that way. Shout out to Austin Wing says, Tori, the same night you got your window smashed in. Yeah, I got my window broken when I was at the Blazer game. So and Eric, my insurance didn't cover it, and it's just like $450 out of pocket. So that was brutal. So I got that fixed today though, but it was a freaking hit. That sucked. But Austin says, the same night I got my window smashed, he and his buddy were sitting in the 200 level and got beer poured on them from guys sitting in the 300 level. See, I wonder if that was an accident, but I don't know how you accidentally... I've never sat front row of the 300 level. I don't know how you accidentally do that. But yeah, that sucks, man.
I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often. But Austin Wing, nice to see you in here. Hi, hello. You're on a stream, though we're not lagging.
Is he always here when we're lagging?
No, I over the summer or some last season maybe, I met Austin Wing here in town,
Gotcha.
and I tried to say hi and give him a shout out on air, but we kept lagging like during it, and that was when our streams kept bugging out. So
got you.
He's finally here. I know he's here. Hello, Austin.
Luckily,
Miss seeing you around town.
Lately.
Maybe I'll see you around someday.
Tori, where are you parked? I was parked on Hancock Street behind the Portland Public Safety Building, but I've parked there multiple times, so yeah. Shout out to MGJJ123 with a $5 donation at the buzzer here. Thank you, MGJJ. If you meant to leave a message, let me know in the next minute or two before I sign off. Appreciate the donation. Matt Mobile said, doesn't sound safe. Well, I don't know if there's anywhere to park around there that is safe. So just don't keep anything in your car that people think might be hiding something is all I'll say.
Eric, are you going to the game tomorrow? Blazers play Sunday?
Yeah.
Are you asking about the Beaver game, maybe? No, I'm not going to.
Well, it'll be tomorrow in 20 seconds. So
yeah,
if he
that's
means
true.
Tomorrow in
maybe
20
it's tomorrow
seconds,
where
then it
he
is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, yeah, literally 10 seconds till midnight.
Go Beavs tomorrow, Tori. Sorry.
You guys are joining the Mountain West. I feel bad for y'all. That sucks. Washington got a win, though. If you guys lose, you guys will still make a good bowl, right? Like,
yeah.
Washington got to make the college football playoff. Also, Eric, I want to see if we beat you guys, will they finally put us ahead of Florida State? because I don't understand how Florida State's ahead of us. Like, that's that East Coast bias, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm just like, will they finally give us our respect if we beat you guys? Beat a top 10 team again?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, I've always rooted for the Beavers, but yeah, not tomorrow.
So MGJJ123 says, I'm still so disappointed we traded Dame to go on with this rebuild with Scoot. Maybe better days are coming. We can only hope. Yeah. The frickin' Beavers, man, so if they somehow manage to beat Washington, they play Oregon the following week.
Yeah.
If they somehow manage to beat them, then they have to play Washington again, like 2 weeks from tomorrow. So that's their next 3 games if they win the first 2. So I mean, like, even if they magically pull out the next 2 weeks, they're screwed anyway. So that's really tough.
I wonder if you guys didn't lose to Washington State, would you guys have a chance at the college football playoff right now? Because you guys would be ranked higher than 10th, I would assume. So if you guys are ranked 8th and then beat Washington, Oregon, Washington,
I
does that
think
get
they
you
would.
up to 4? I mean, it depends on what other teams' games they lose, but
Yeah, I don't know if they won out and won the conference, maybe. Or I mean, they completely messed up the game at Arizona too. Should have won that one.
that's the thing where people are like, Washington isn't 4th because they barely beat Arizona State, barely beat Stanford. It's like, you know how hard it is to go 10-0 where you just screw up one game? Like, give some credit to winning games. Like, I see Duck fans that are like, we deserve to be ranked ahead of Washington because, you know, advanced analytics and metrics say we're better and we have more blowout wins and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, so winning games doesn't matter. It's not about winning games. It's about how much you win them by or lose them by, right? Like, just because it was close in Seattle and we barely squeaked it out with a win, like, that win doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because it was only by 3. Like, in the end, winning games should matter. Winning games matters. Winning games freaking matters. If Oregon beat Washington and Eugene by 3, I wouldn't sit here saying Washington deserves to be over them when Oregon's undefeated and Washington has a loss to them. And Duck fans wouldn't stand for that. They would not stand for that. But other way around, like, give some credit, even though it hasn't been pretty. Like, you deserve credit for going 10-0 in the best conference in college football. You know what I mean? Like,
Just watch this be the year where there isn't another upset and you just get really unlucky.
yeah. I mean, one of Ohio State and Michigan have to lose, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I think we'd be ahead of them. So in the end, it's just went out and we're in. But, like, it is so easy to just slip up once. And Oregon State's a great example of that. They're a really good team. I'm not sure Washington is, like, all that better than them at all. But like, against Arizona State, that game looked maybe lost for us, and we came up with a pick 6. You know, like, we made the play to make that a win. That's the thing with, like, Oregon State is just, like, first half versus Washington State, have a bad first half, can't recover. And then against Arizona, like, your coach has a brain fart and calls a fake field goal at the end of the half. Like, it's, you know, it just takes one slip up in a game to lose it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I just,
I wish this was the first year of the 12 team.
Yeah.
But the thing about Oregon, though, like, who cares if they're better or worse or what the thing is right now? You've lost to them, but you still have a chance to prove everyone wrong and win the conference. And so you're either going to do that, and then you'll ultimately say you beat them on a neutral field and only lost to them 3-3 at their place, or you're going to lose one of these remaining games and or losing the championship, and then it'll be a fact that Oregon's not better than Washington. So it'll play out on the field. That's a good part about the way it's set up this year. It doesn't always work out that way, but
yeah. I just, yeah, Duck fans, no offense. Some of you Duck fans are cool, right? A lot of you are in our chat and are cool. But when it comes to college football, there's a lot of Duck fans out there that drive me crazy my friend Brady included. He drives me freaking crazy when it comes to the Ducks. Habib says, the fact Washington struggled with mutual opponents so hard while Oregon blew the same opponent out says all you need to say Oregon is better, but they lost that day on the last second TD on the road. Okay, Oregon plays their best game against those opponents and Washington doesn't. Like, Washington did not play up to their standard, up to how good they can play against those opponents. So those aren't indicative of how good of a team Washington is. Because they did not play up to their level. Like, they did not play their best game. Oregon does and blows them out. Cool. Washington didn't.
And if Oregon doesn't get the pick 6 and loses to Texas Tech, are we saying that too?
Exactly. But that happened so long ago that we forget
just win the
that.
game. Yeah, just win.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Yep. So you guys will get your chance. I'll be ready for it. Like, you guys beat us? Fair game. Okay, well, you beat us in the championship and on a neutral field. Like, then you deserve to get ranked ahead of us. Then it's, we'll see how you do probably in the, maybe you don't make the college football playoff, but, we'll see. We'll see. But if Washington beats them, I don't want to hear, if we beat them by 3, it'll be like, the refs screwed us, we're still better than them.
I'm worried about the worst case scenario, and that's Alabama running the table.
Oh, God.
Meaning they beat Georgia in the championship, and then they both have one loss, and it's like, who do you leave out, or do they both get in, and then all the rest of the other teams are screwed?
I will say this. So if you guys beat Oregon, oh no, because you'd have 3 losses. So we'd
have to win the next 2 weeks to make that.
Is like the only way an undefeated Washington, is it impossible for Washington to be undefeated and face a team other than Oregon in the championship?
At this point, I don't think so.
Yeah, like it'd have to be Oregon because we'd have to beat you guys, and you guys are in 3rd place, right?
Yeah. Wait, Utah maybe have 2?
No, I think Utah has 3.
They have 3 now? Yeah, we beat Utah, but...
I'm gonna look right now because I'm curious since we're on the topic. Oh, Arizona is 5-2.
Yeah.
So what's the tiebreaker?
I guess head-to-head.
And Oregon beat Arizona?
I don't think they played Arizona this year.
Yeah, they don't play Arizona. So what's the next tiebreaker then?
It might be highest. I don't know how far down this is, but one of the tiebreakers, I believe, is highest playoff ranking. Or like the highest team in the poll or whatever.
Arizona's not getting ahead of Oregon.
Yeah.
Pac-12 standings tiebreakers. Let's see here. If 2 teams are tied for first place, both teams will participate. Blah 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 blah. Let's see. Multiple team. I need 2 teams not in first place.
Yeah, it was in the 2000 season. The Beavers, Ducks, and Huskies all had 1 loss in conference at the end of the season. And Oregon State beat Oregon. Oregon beat Washington, and Washington beat Oregon State. So they all beat each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Arizona can make it, but.
And somehow Washington had the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
And got to go to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, Arizona, good story though. From how bad they were a couple years ago.
So
Still should have beat them,
a
though.
three-way tie between Arizona, Oregon, and Oregon State. Well, that would mean Oregon State beats Washington. Yeah, I don't know. I'm done trying to figure this out.
I think that's the only way. The only way Oregon State can win is if they beat or play in the Pac-12 championship game is if they beat Washington, and then Washington only has one loss still.
Yeah.
Or even if they have two losses, they would still.
I mean, I would love to run the table and then face Arizona instead of Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. I would love that. Because I think they'd have an easier time beating Arizona, and B, I wouldn't have to deal with the Twitter warfare again.
But if you beat Oregon again, that's gonna prop you up.
Yeah,
higher.
but I think if we beat Oregon State, we'll be ahead of FSU.
Yeah.
And Arizona might be who's the next best team in the ACC? Like I don't know. And then also one of Michigan State and Ohio State's going to lose. So if we run the table, like I don't know how one of those would be ahead of us. So I think it just comes down to running the table, truly. Is what it has to be. Also, if we make the college football playoff, we're gonna be playing one of Ohio State, Michigan, or Georgia.
Yeah.
Like, I think we can beat Michigan. The other two games I think would be tougher. I feel like Ohio State's receivers would carve us, and then Georgia's Georgia. So,
Yep.
Do not know, but yeah. Also, if Washington was my first team to win a championship, I don't know if it'd really feel similar to like if Gonzaga or the
You ever been
Mariners
like
or
a
the
diehard?
Niners. Yeah, like I'm a fan, but like out of the Mariners, Gonzaga basketball, the Niners, and the Blazers, I'd probably rank those four teams as far as like me caring about them winning a championship. I'd rank those four teams ahead of Washington. Still really want them to win, but it's not the same. I'd take it though. Anyway.
I just wish there was a way to. I mean, I know, like I said, the Pac-12 is going to figure it out because they all still will end up playing each other if they don't lose. But it just sucks that the rest of the nation doesn't get to see it play out that way nationally.
Yeah.
It's still 4 teams is still better than 2, but
Facts. Yeah.
I wish at least the Power Fives all had a seat at the table.
Yep, I agree. Anyway, we're out here. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate all of you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Blazers lose again. Same. Every game is the same. It's the same script every game. We come back in the third, cut it to 1 or 2 possessions, then get waxed the rest of the game.
Yep.
So every year it's like the same script. A couple years ago it was we lose every game on the road and win every game at home. And every game on the road we lose because of effort. I still remember Philadelphia a couple years ago. I think they were without Embiid and we lost. I need to go back and rewatch that post-game show. But yeah, hopefully you guys have a good rest of your night. Have a good weekend. We'll catch you again on Sunday after the Blazers play the Oklahoma City Fighting Chet Holmgrens. Looking forward to that game. Looking forward to telling the haters, the doubters, how wrong they were about Chet. If he goes off, I'm going off. And yeah, that's a wrap. We will catch you guys Sunday. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.